This is Rakie and Linda from Colorado Springs.
Here, if you need the process.
No, we're going to start over.
Lots of projects. One of them's pyramid project. I'm going to try to shorten this so we can understand what we're doing. We create a sphere of light within a pyramid, a specific pyramid by intention. Fortunately, when I go a little bit into an altered state, I can tell you the level of coherency or the level of light attainment of a particular pyramid. And there's interesting things that have happened through the last couple of years that we've been doing this. Some pyramids seem to be easy. They seem to illuminate rather easy. Some are much more challenging. We're not sure who's working on what pyramid, but I think, how many do we have on the website now?
14.
No, how many people?
165, 170.
Around 165 people. Oh, I forgot we're starting over again. I'm sorry, I'm not very grounded. I just finished 3 sessions and I'm trying to get my act together. But we create light within the pyramids. The light illuminates out through the top. The purpose of this, as light is congealed and brought into focus, so to speak, and then it finds its way out through up the vertices and out through the top of the pyramid. Quite a few of us even have pictures of that light stream coming out of the pyramid. So the purpose is that light will find its way into our reality. It actually is, it can travel quite a ways, like thousands of miles, literally. So we try to isolate pyramids in different places, different situations. For instance, the Ukraine and what's been going on there, I don't think it will ever come into a war, but they end up in the verbiage between Putin and Biden, whatever that other guy's name is. So our job, or not our job, but our intent, our purpose is to create enough light. And we chose the pyramid close enough to the Ukraine, close enough to that situation. And we literally projected that light out so it find its way all the way over to the Ukraine. And with enough light, here's kind of what's behind why we do what we do. With enough light, people will make better decisions. With enough light, those in power, the Putins, the Bidens, the Kims of North Korea, with enough light, they will make decisions that support all life. Without that knowledge, a lot of times they get stuck in the lower realms and they make bad decisions that are bad for humanity. And that's not a judgment call, it's an observation call. When we project this light, we have no intention. In other words, we don't project the light from Bosnia to the Ukraine to stop what's happening, to change what's happening, but the people involved making the decisions, whether to go to war or not, will make decisions in support of life. That's our intention. We have no expectation of outcome, but we found that this process is incredibly not only powerful, but trackable. When we put attention on certain things, it's very easy to observe. Is there any change? Is there any difference? To show, I want to give you a quick example because I think this is an interesting story. I'm sure most of you remember a couple of years ago when Trump was president, he and Kim got into this. I'm missing something. Tell me when I should quit talking. I'm not a technology person. I'm more hands-on. But anyway, that situation was going on, and there was threats. I'm going to burn your place down. I'm willing to use nuclear weapons and things like that. I'm going, no, this can't happen. This is not going to happen. One of the other things that we've learned to do through the years is on our keyboard, I channeled some music, in particular called Music of the Night. And what that does, if you're playing that, and Mr. Warner, I'm sure, would be very good at doing this, but as you're playing this music, whatever you hold out in your consciousness in your mind is actually what, if you have it directed, it will find its way to that thing. So it's the purpose of determining a direction. So when things are getting really ugly, I'm going to source. I said, I don't want to have expectations. I don't want to get in the middle of this, but I don't want the children of planet Earth to have to suffer a nuclear situation. So I thought, and with my memory, years and years ago, I saw some pictures of the aftermath of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In the pictures, sorry, just a little emotional. Um, the thing that stuck in my mind is there was probably a 5-year-old child laying on the ground that looked like a crispy critter. And so what I did is that image was so impacted in my emotional body that I said, fine. So as I played the music, first I brought Trump into the picture and I could feel his energy. I could feel the communication. Sometimes I get blocked. I'll talk about that later. So anyway, what I did is I sent this image along with a message. Is this what you want? Is this what you're willing to create? To be right? To do what you do? And in the message, but I know he got it. I know he saw it. So now I turn around and I send it to Kim. Same thing. Is this what you really want to accomplish? Do you want to burn your children up? Do you want to burn the children of planet Earth up? Nuclear explosions are not allowed anymore. It's never going to happen. So we track the news. It's easy to follow it. The rhetoric stopped almost overnight and just literally start disappearing. So you could say, well, maybe it's coincidence, but maybe it's not. Maybe what we hold in our heart and our mind actually can become our reality. Now, when I did that work, I did not say anything was wrong. I did not say, we want to stop this situation. I was very careful to be very generic in my presentation and just show them, this is what you can create. Is this what you want? Do you want to have responsibility for something like this the rest of your life? And it was just amazing to watch what happened. So that's kind of part of what the work with pyramids is to project light so that those in power that can affect our reality and our children's reality will make decisions in support of life and not decisions in support of war, not decisions and I have to be so right, I'm willing to kill off half my population. Now that just doesn't work. With enough light, everyone without exception, will make decisions in support of life. Because what happens, and all of us go through this process too. Let's just say there's a decision that we have to make. What happens is we'll go up to our mental aspect of ourselves, to our thought process, and we'll think it over, and we start vacillating back and forth and back and forth. We're not sure. Well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? And typically, when we make that decision, we've gone another level up at our vibratory level. And now that decision is made under the auspice of light. And it is a decision that is in support of all life. And we've gone through this process. I've watched it happen. It's very, very effective. But a lot of times when these kind of critical decisions are made, it's because there isn't enough light. And all of a sudden, it's like, I've got to be right. And they don't think of the consequences of what being right really means. So I pose this. We have a little thing in Colorado Springs called Earth Church. It's not really a church. It's a gathering of loving people with intentions to support each other and support planet Earth. That's why it's called Earth Church. But in that process, at one point, God, I am not grounded. It's funny, we just got after three sessions today, and I need to get myself grounded so I can focus. But,
Did you have dinner together?
huh?
Did you have dinner together? You have a nice buffet?
Yes. Could we show them that if we turn that around? Can they see everybody? No. Yes, we had a wonderful gathering, potluck, amazing food, amazing people. Yeah, we have lots left over. We could mail that to you possibly. No, just kidding. But anyway, this is a little bit symbolic of some of the work that we do and some of the intentions that we set. We try very hard to stay out of polarity consciousness. We try very hard when we go into these places, even when they're heart-filled, which I could go into a whole thing on that, the magnetics of the heart and how that actually starts to form reality, but no intention of result, no expectations. Without expectations, there can never be disappointment. Also,
So I'd like to ask you to share
Mhm.
some type of thing where we all connect to the pyramids, because Some of them may not know how to do it, or we haven't done it together with you in a long time. I know how much work on the video.
I read.
We can tell, but the beginning one is always the most mistake.
It shows.
Everybody else is supposed to have. And so maybe Mahomes. I think that might be nice to bring us into a coherent
We could definitely do that.
tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we could definitely use it.
Why don't I suggest a sports corner?
Okay.
Tell them about Sedona.
Right. We're about to, part of the reason we're in Southern California is I was guided through channeling that a ceremony in Sedona was imperatively important before the end of the year, particularly. I'd done a lot of work there through the years, especially a lot of years ago when I was a younger man. And a couple times I was there and it became so emotional because what I would do is I would feel the pain of the Native Americans who were forced to leave their homes and their dwellings. And there's so much more to that. I'm just making it a lot shorter. But we are on our way back on Saturday to Sedona. Some people are coming down from Colorado, and we're going to go into a specific location. I wish I could say exactly what it was, but I need to be there. I need to feel what's going on. And when I feel that, and my beloved friend, Leah Tenderfoot, gave me some wonderful advice of how to take care of ourselves doing these things, because it's such an emotional experience when the tears are flowing and you can feel the pain of those that you're trying to release, to go back to source, so to speak, the point of origin. There's a level of knowledge that's available that you can't take that on yourself in your own heart. And I'm very bad at doing that. And I've done that a lot, and it hurts. And it's not, it can be dangerous to your health. So injurious, whatever word that is. So anyway, she has prepared us, and I thank her and my other Leah. These are two people that are so important in my life. So anyway, we're kind of prepared now. We got word from our friends that they are going to show up there. Some amazing people I wish you could all meet. One of our friends is Dr. Randy Kimberling. Laurie's, a lot of you have met him, I guess. Laurie, I know, has met him. He was actually here at her house one time. One of the most gifted, huh?
He's a way up
Yeah,
person.
one of the most gifted people I've ever been with. He's been my closest friend probably for 20 or 25 years. I lose track of time, but he knows how important this is. We did a ceremony at Sedona quite a few years back. We did it up at Airport Mesa, and there was 33 of us. We circled up, hands together, and we opened a vortex and let the energy flow back into the heart of the mother, go full circle and come back. I just shortened that because of time. So when the ceremony was finished, everybody hit the ground crying. I mean, it was the most emotional thing ever. And when the ceremony was over, we all went back on our way back to our homes, and word comes out from a Buddhist priest, and believe me, there's no judgment here. I'm just restating what happened in the facts, that there was two people in that ceremony that were draconians, one draconian king and one draconian queen. The news got back to me, and obviously almost horrified me that somebody could accuse. Well, the people were Dr. Randy Kimberling and his partner at that time was Charlotte. So I said, we have to get to the bottom of this. And it just so happened that another friend, Dan Winter, some of you might be familiar with his work, was doing an event with Drunvalo in Los Angeles at that big circular hotel that you see when you go down the freeway. And we arranged, a meeting was arranged that the Buddhist priests could meet me and then also meet Randy and Charlotte. And so I wanted to get this cleared up, but this is how magical that little situation was. So I show up first. Dan Winter was there. The Buddhist priest is sitting over there, I guess, with prayer beads. I'm not sure what you call them exactly, but and I could tell he was going to probably lay into me for one reason or another. And he goes, just who do you think you are holding a ceremony like that, a circular ceremony in particular? And I said, I don't think I'm anything. I said, I just do this from my heart and out of love. And he says, but when you put a circle like that, there is so much that's happening. You could cause so much damage to this and that. And by the way, those scarves that you wear on your head, you look like a swashbuckler. So he was very borderline, very rude, huh? This is the Buddhist priest. This guy's been a priest for older man. He's been a priest for forever. So I was waiting for Randy and Charlotte to show up, and we reserved a table. So I had about enough of this guy's criticism, so I just kind of separated myself. And Randy and Charlotte came in, and I told Randy, I said, get ready, this guy's going to come after you. And he says, that's fine. He said, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to play out. So I said, okay. So we all went and sat at the table. The Buddhist priest sat at the end, and Randy was 2 people down from him right here. And he goes, he says, he started the thing. He says, you've been accused of being a draconian king, and your partner has been accused of being a draconian queen. How do you answer for that? Or how do you answer to us about that accusation? And Randy says, well, it was right. The Buddhist priest looks, it was right. He says, yeah. He says, I was a draconian king, and I was a draconian queen also. And also I was in the Aztec world, and also I was a Mayan. He said, as a matter of fact, there's hardly anything I haven't been. The priest was embarrassed. I mean, literally, he didn't know what to say. He was speechless. So I'm going, I'm liking the way this is going. And we finished the little thing, and he just left. I'm going, I wonder if he's still that upset with me. Sorry, the language. Anyway, so I wouldn't know, but I was going to help Dan Winter set up for the big event the following morning, and the same place that Grenville was also presenting. And I was hoping I wouldn't encounter him again. But so I'm helping Dan carry all this stuff out. We got him kind of set up, and it's in a pretty good size auditorium with like 4 sets of double doors out here. I see the 2 doors open, and here he stands in the middle of the 2 doors, the Buddhist priest. I'm going, oh shit. So he starts walking, he sees me, and he starts walking down the aisle toward me, because I still had a scarf on my head. I still looked like the swashbuckler that he accused me of. And he starts walking toward me, and I went, I don't really want to get beat up at this moment, but I stood my ground. I didn't move. And actually I moved into the middle of the aisle. So I'm directly facing him, straight on. And he gets closer and closer and closer. And I noticed he didn't have the anger and frustration in his eyes this time. He got closer and closer to me. When he was about from here to hew a waist from me, he puts his arms out like this. And he said, I came to apologize. I was so wrong. He says, the work you do is wonderful. Keep doing it. The person who did the accusations, we found out, was on hallucinogenics and alcohol combination, and he could not ask for enough forgiveness. But that's how fast situations can turn around. Yes. So anyway, do you want to take a segment and tell them about something else we're doing? Huh?
Do you want to introduce it? Because that's what you were talking. Hi, Reed. Hello, Redbird. Yes, there she is. Elizabeth that just got on. Hello, everybody that we didn't get to greet. Right there's Reed, right there's Redbird, and there's Lawrence and Shirley. Hey, everybody.
Lawrence, we missed you. We missed your music. Brian's been very lonely without you. He doesn't have anybody to play with anymore.
So Rakie broke a rib, and couple days into that process, he was doing light talk in the car while I was picking up a wheel to give to somebody, and he's just highly emotional. And they said, this is a birth. This, what you're experiencing with this little initiation, is for the tribe. And when they say the tribe, they don't just mean, the friends that hang out in the Earth Church with us. They're talking about you, Lawrence, you, Redbird, everybody here, and people in Texas, Louise, all the ones that we know are part of an evolutionary highway. And so what they said that is going on for Rakie is the beginning of a birth, and that we needed to be prepared for that our levels of consciousness will be rising very much in coherency, in contrast with the kerfuffles on the planet right now. And what we learned by doing a talk with Light Talk with Deborah, our beloved Deborah, is that the question was, will there be further separation between those that are resisting those people who are naturally immune, and those are, that whole dilemma. And so they said it'll continue to get worse for a while, and then we will come together, and there will be hope for those people who we have understood their DNA is damaged. No, because of the love that we will hold for them at that time, we will even be more powerful, the healers and the counselors, and these people won't be separated forever from our family lives. And that's been a heartache for everybody. They said there isn't a family that isn't affected by this schism, but this is going to heal. Probably next summer, we'll be going through something, they said, in the next 6 months that is very, very, I don't know, uplifting for those of us that are the carriers of the wisdom and the counselors of the wisdom. We will be so highly in demand. So then they said about Sedona, when we get to Sedona, there's 8 vortexes there, and they were, let's just say they're at 100% effective right now. They will be 150% once this liberation happens. As you know, that have had Metatron's wheels, there's it shows there's 2 pathways to have energy get back to the heart of origin. One is through the heart, and this is authentic. It's not simply a mental chant that you get repeated 50 years. It has to be felt. It has to be forgiven. And so it's very hard on Rakie to do this because his feeling life is so gigantic. But they said, well, if 6 of us could come together in Sedona, then we would be able to hold that space. Leah has given us some assistance, our shaman Leah here, and we will be sharing that. But basically, the other way is physical breakdown. So because there's 7.5 or 8, I don't know how many billions of people whose energy is not completely reconciled, and nobody's is, then we're going to see a lot of breakdown quickly, starting in end of January or something. Okay. So the whole purpose of Sedona is to reconcile this energy using the heart rather than right, the grief. So the grief and the traumas that had been in history, they explained in channeling that it took centuries for these 3 different tribes that had lived on the Sedona properties. They weren't property, the sacred lands. The Anastasi's was definitely one. And it was such a heartbreak that in ceremony, it's very, very difficult to get this energy to be forgiven. And that is what we have been tasked with this Sunday at 11:30. Yeah, it's about 150 feet above the level of the land is this little essence bank. It's huge. And no, it's just
energy that's formed by pain over so many years. When this happened, and once again, there's no judgment, but I can feel that there's a density, especially above Sedona, and it's a ways up above the earth. And that density is formed because the anger and the pain and the sorrow that took place was so intense and so emotionally, had such an emotional signature to it, that even though some of the people perished and moved on and things, the energies that were higher up still exist in a congealed form. And so what we want to do is provide a way home for that energy to clear itself. And I do believe if Sedona is a power vortex right now, by the time this is over, it will be much more powerful. I want to regress a little bit because this teaching and doing spiritual teaching, being spiritual teachers, which so many of us here are, if not all of us, exampleship is something that really at least empowers what we believe is possible. So she mentioned the thing about the broken rib. 3 days before we were supposed to leave on our trip here right now, I had a little accident where I fell back down on the corner of a hearth and snapped a rib. The noise was so loud, everybody in the room heard it. So this like broke my heart because we're leaving on a trip. How am I supposed to ride all the way to California in excruciating pain? So before the pain really set in, any of you have had rib damage, it's kind of a little progression. It gets worse and worse and worse. And pretty soon you're in a lot of pain. Anybody that's had broken ribs or damaged ribs, I don't have to tell you how much the pain is. So anyway, immediately when I heard the noise, I knew something snapped or something broke. So I took and I started above where I felt the most pain, and I just started running my finger down. And all of a sudden there's like a half-inch drop, like a stair step, and then it continued down. So I knew it was broken. There was not really any question about it. So going through all that, going home frustrated, angry to some degree, I said, I can't accept this. I'm not going to accept this. I said, I have loved ones in California. I have family in California. When I speak of loved ones, I'm speaking of you guys, all of us. I said, I'm not going to give this up. I said, I'm going to give myself 72 hours to heal this. Physically impossible. I have several of our tribe, our younger people. I wanted them to feel this. I wanted to know that I'm not making this up. It's not a face thing. This is actually broken. You can feel it broken. You don't need any x-rays. And I wasn't about to go to the doctor and get wrapped up like what had happened earlier in my life. So I just got into this mindset that anything's possible if you have enough emotional energy in it and enough heart energy in it. So I gave myself 72 hours, the time left for it to heal. And I think it was a little bit over 40, a day and a half, maybe toward the latter part of that day and a half. It was basically 95% healed. And for an example or proof, there's a few people in here, like I know Deborah and Hugh, I showed it to, but you can feel it. You can feel all the calcium build up over where the break took place. Pauline felt it. This is not about somebody saying something that maybe didn't happen, because I wanted, especially the people that I love, you can do this. This is not just something that I can do. It's we all can do this. But if I need to be the example of how this can happen and will happen, then I'm more than willing to do that. So yes, it was a blessing. It was a miracle. There's no question about it. I've had a lot of miracles in my life, but this was one that was observable. You know, when you can see it, feel it, experience it, and watch it heal a day and a half later. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, because I will share it with our tribe back home when I get back home. Oh yeah, here I am. I'm pain-free. Matter of fact, I played pair volleyball 2 nights ago, which involves extreme movements of your arms and stuff. So it's possible. I think each and every one of us has those abilities. It's just some of us, you know, I had a very traumatic life. So what? A lot of people have had really traumatic lives, but so much emotional energy was developed during those traumas, being an abandoned child, trying to grow up without parents, so to speak, and stuff had a large impact on me. And at some level, it brought forth some anger and frustration, because I thought I was a good child. I thought I did everything I was told. I didn't understand, one, why I would continue to get hurt, and why some of the people that I loved the most had to go out of form. So there's just so much there, but I think all of the pain, all of the experience was so that I could share that with you and know that you can do this. If you have anything that engenders emotional energy, that is potential. That is something that can create miracles. It's another, for instance, and I'm only saying this as exampleship. If I come upon an accident, I mean, and it's happened roughly 12 times. I mean, I'm talking bad accidents, life-threatening accidents. As soon as I touch the person that's bleeding to death, because I'm usually there within 1 or 2 minutes maximum, as soon as I touch that person, all the blood sucks back up in their body. It's happened over and over and over. It's been witnessed by the paramedics. It happened so many times that the trauma nurse on the helicopter, the life flight helicopter that came in, she would always come running out to see what was going on. And I would be holding somebody that's trying to die. And it happened so many times. She goes, how is it that you're always here? And how is it that the person that you're holding is not bleeding? And how is it that the person that you're holding never dies? She said, would you consider coming to work for us? Well, I looked what a paramedic made a little almost minimum wage. And so I said, no, I think if God wants me there, or however we want to address that, I will show up, and those kind of miracles happen. But it's just that exampleship. So that's just a little bit off the subject, but it's part of our work. It's part of what we do. I want to understand how and why this happens with me so I can share it with you. So you can do it, and you can do it, and you can do it. It's, many of you have had miracles and things, but some of this stuff is so profound. It challenges your reality. It challenges what you believe, things that you've never seen before. Of one of those accidents, terrible accident, a woman at 11 o'clock at night, freezing cold. She's unconscious. She got thrown out of her car. The whole side of her face was just squashed, and she's choking to death on her own blood. So immediately I do what I do. And the first thing that I do is I go into some of my past life, whether it was not past life, this life, previous experience. I lost a child earlier on in this life. She was run over and killed. I'll go back to that, and that all of a sudden that emotional energy just comes forward. Is this somebody's mother? Is this a loved one of somebody who's going to have to suffer like I did when I lost my child? And it just brings this emotional energy forward so fast. So anyway, but this is just to show you how damaged this woman was. The paramedic comes running up with this big flashlight and stuff. I said, she's choking to death on her own blood. Is there any kind of pump that we can pump her mouth out? Because she's unconscious and she's literally choking to death. He shines a flashlight on her. As soon as he saw her face, he passes out. So now I have a passed out paramedic and somebody's choking to death. I got my finger in her mouth trying to pull her tongue up. Unfortunately, another paramedic came running up, and I said, do you have any kind of device that can pump the blood out of her mouth? He said, oh, of course. So he goes running back to his ambulance and comes running back and hands it to me. I said, I don't know how to use it. I just need to get the blood out of her mouth. So he went through the procedure. Long story short, they took her away unconscious on the Life Flight helicopter. They said, we're going to Parkview Hospital. I thought I overheard her name of a friend that also saw the accident, and it's at 11 o'clock at night, so there's not a whole lot of traffic or anything. So I said, well, tomorrow I'll go to the hospital and I'll check on her. And so far, I've gone through this several times, and I have not lost anybody. Not that it's up to me. Life is never up to us, but no one has ever passed over. So I can't wait till the following day. I was self-employed, so I could take time. I jumped in my truck and I went down to Parkview Hospital in Pueblo. And I went on to the desk, and I said, there was a woman that came in last night on the Life Flight helicopter, and her name was such and such. And so the girl looks at her little computer and she says, I'm sorry, sir, there's nobody here by that name. Well, it has to. I heard the trauma nurse in the helicopter, I heard her say, we're taking her to Parkview. And she just looked at me kind of sadly, and she said, sir, if she's not on here, that means she didn't survive. And it just broke my heart. So I got in my truck, drove all the way back to my little town, stopped by the bowling alley to get a cup of coffee. And some friends were there, and they said, did you hear about that accident last night? And I'm saying to myself, I heard more than about it. I was involved in what's going on. He said, it's a miracle that woman lived. And I said, that woman lived? They said, yeah, she's in Parkview Hospital. She's alive. She's very damaged face, but she's definitely alive. I don't understand. I told them the name that I told at the hospital, and they said, no, that's not exactly her name. It's like Williamson, and it was actually Williams or something. I don't know what it was, but it doesn't matter. So come in my car, we're all the way back to the hospital, go all the way up to intensive care, which now the woman on the desk says, yes, she's here. She's in intensive care. I talked to the lead nurse. I said, such and such was in an accident last night. I said, I would just like to check in on her. I don't need to see her. I don't even know if she's regained consciousness. And she has regained consciousness. She said her whole side of her face is all bandaged up. She required multiple things, to save her. And she's probably not awake, but her father is in there with her, praying with her. And so if you want to stick your head in the window, that's fine. I mean, then behind the curtain. So I race over there, not thinking anything. I open the curtain up and her eye, one eye is closed, the other one's all bandaged up. And she opens that eye and she goes, Father, my angel's here that saved me last night. And then she went unconscious again. Those are heartbreakers, but that's what can happen. If your reality supports, miracles can happen, and you can somehow generate a little bit of emotional energy. You can watch this, you can be a part of this. All of us can have that level of healing ability. So I just wanted to share that exampleship of what is possible. And on and on and on. Now back to the subject. The ceremony that we're doing in Sedona this weekend is all about releasing any congealed, stagnant energy that is still left over. And believe me, it's still left over from all the pain, all the suffering that went on so many years ago. About 20 years ago, I took a group of people, about 12 of us, and I knew one of the focal points that had the most damage or the most pain was Boynton Canyon. Any of you that are familiar with Sedona are familiar with that. And so I'm taking all 12 of us back to do ceremony, and we're walking along. If you've ever been there, we're on what was a dirt road, and we're walking along, and all of a sudden I hear a woman screaming. And I look around, I thought it was something very real, and there is no woman around. And I heard it again. And then I heard a woman like wailing. And I went, what is, I'm sorry, I might not get through this. It's still 20 years ago, the emotions are still there. That's another good teacher. If you've got emotional energy hooked to something, it better be something good, because it's going to stay with you. It doesn't have a lifespan until you release it. So anyway, then I start hearing children crying. And then I hear the women screaming, I hear the children crying, and I realize that's what they were experiencing as they were being at gunpoint forced out of their beautiful home. I couldn't do the ceremony. I just couldn't stop crying. And I asked one of my friends to do it. Well, he did a very shortened version, probably what I would have done. So it's been roughly 20 years, and I'm going back to finish what I started. And we will get in touch with this, and we will get in touch with this energy, and we will provide a space for it to find its way back to source once again, so that this can be cleaned up. What they did is they came in and they built in Boynton Canyon, where the ceremony is, they came in with the big money and they covered up the Indian burial grounds and put tennis courts on top of it and said it was okay. No, it wasn't okay. So anyway, it's not that we're in judgment of what's right or wrong or how that happened. Later on in my life, when I had gone through this experience, I'm heading off the hill in Flagstaff to where the reservations are, where those people were forced to go to. And I'm crying. I had to pull off the road. And I said, Father, why? Why would these people forced out of their beautiful homes to live out in the middle of the desert with nothing? And he said, it's not what you really think. He said, the people that live out here in the deserts, yes, they are of Indian nature, and that's what they look like, but they're actually the souls or things that caused that whole thing to happen. In other words, the perpetrators were the ones, and in a reincarnation, that were in the reservation. So more understanding. So we're bringing all these people together to go in. Yeah, exactly. You just never know.
Observation versus judgment.
Yep,
You can observe it and not judge.
that's exactly right. One of the things we
There was 2 or 3 people that didn't hear the story about the draconians and how easy it was for Randy to say yes.
Of course I was a draconian. Of course I was a Mayan prince. Of course I was, the perpetrator of Custer, or I was the, victim of the natives. I was all of it. And so there's no need to, cast, who is the culprit? It's just us. We're the culprit and, the angels we've been looking for. So it's
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Um, if
Oh,
we're
sorry.
if we're able to tune in remotely on Sunday with you, what time are you doing it at?
We're doing it at 11:30 is when it starts, but we're going to have to tell you when I need to get there and I need to feel what it feels like. In other words, if I say we're definitely going to go to Boynton Canyon and I get there and there's no way to get in, that they've blocked, I've heard they've been fenced off a lot of stuff, that may not be possible. So if you're interested in participating, try to communicate with Linda, say before 11 o'clock or 10:30 or something, and I will know where we will be at that point in time. I wanted to add something. One of my beloved friends for lifetimes, Shaman Leah, gave me the tools that I need that I can go through this process without having an emotional breakdown. And that is, she wonderfully shared with me, which she always does, to put my heart out here and not take it in physically. You can feel it, but in your own mental apparatus, believe that everything you feel is in your heart. And she literally gave me pictures of this beautiful, loving, heart-shaped heart and stuff. So we're going to bring that into the ceremony because she's right. You know, if you choose to bring that on, I would not be able to do it again. I would probably just have another emotional breakdown and not be able to go through the ceremony. So my thanks to my beloved Leah and my other beloved Leah. I get two of them. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. And we will set the stage for a clearing that I don't think Sonona might not have ever seen before. And it's just time. It wasn't time 20 years ago, but it is time now. The world is in a place where it needs all the help that it can get. And we do believe that if we release and free this energy, let it go back to source so it can regenerate into something as potential that can be created. We think it really has a lot of value and it's worth every ounce of effort that we put into making it happen.
Just one point on the remote people. You really won't need to know which one of the vortex we will be able to park to. You're just going to be working remotely. And Laurie had asked if we could give an example of how we illuminate one of the pyramids locally that affects also the natives. You all have sacred places to stand, or an ocean, or a tree. Find a place that's sacred to you, and maybe if Rakie gets through this process tonight, as we bring alive that particular pyramid called Four Corners. It's a pyramid that's underneath the ground. And there was 300-mile-an-hour winds at one point throughout our country. And there were several pyramids that were buried. And this one is actually on the vertices of those four states: Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona.
I think it's just a good point of interest, and I'd love to share it with all my friends and my loved ones. Probably a year or two ago said, as change begins to approach you and stuff, there will be winds even in excess of 300 miles an hour. And I didn't think that was hardly even possible. Well, apparently in the Kentucky disaster where so many people gave their lives up, some of the winds were clocked at over 300 miles an hour. So it did come to pass. I would say yeah, the one that just last week. Yeah. Yeah, Nancy?
Major costs are those human costs, because there are operational people. You're talking about the directed energy weapons that have taken off war elements, and they're manipulating it. Not to anybody else.
That's, huh? I don't think it was by intention. I think that they have messed with the weather long enough. When, you know, it all started with HARP so many years ago. That was a long time ago. But I do believe that they've messed with it, that if anything, they've accentuated the possibility of damaging nature-oriented events. I do think climate change also has something to do with it. So it's like all of this stuff is all coming together simultaneously. And what Helen is saying is you're going to have to experience this. So be prepared, just be prudent. You know, obviously we don't want to wish it never happened and stuff. If it needs to happen, it needs to happen. And I trust that in the divine process, it's all in its perfection. I'm looking.
It's still clearing enormous karma from slavery.
Right.
So weather's part of the presentation of how to clear karma, right?
Yep.
of those states that were affected, we were still heavily, regulated. This is a lot of what happened. It was like, the use of it, use of using units. So that has to clear it, whether you want it to occur.
Yeah, it actually has.
Everything has-
And the thing, don't change your life based on the fear of what might be coming.
Yeah.
Be prepared, be prudent. There's nothing wrong with being prudent. Prudent doesn't carry the same energy as fear. Fear is the driver of a reality. If you want to get a group of people to move in a certain direction, present something fearful to them. I got an idea, let's start a pandemic. I bet we could scare a whole lot of people that way. I bet we could take them to, put them through all kinds of stuff. Nevertheless, never let fear drive your decisions. Prudency, yes, let them drive. You need to have probably a little extra food. You need to have some extra water. If nothing happens, there's nothing wrong. You just eat the food and drink the water. But just
Web-based right time.
Light Talk has said over and over the last dozen sessions, change is coming. It's imminent. It will happen. Did they say it was going to kill you, damage you? No, they said it's change. Some of that change is what's necessary to facilitate heaven on earth coming into a reality. We're on the doorstep, ready to walk through into a new reality to where all are taken care of, to where there is no starvation, there is no hunger, there is no lack of water. We have that at our fingertips, so to speak. So just keep moving forward, be prudent, be prepared. Light Talk, which I've done sessions with quite a few of you in here, they always say that those of you who have gathered together in these spiritual kind of groups, with almost without exception, are awakening angels, that the angelic presence that you hold. It's not an accident. It's not something that just because you were spiritual and read a lot of books, went to a lot of seminars, that you all of a sudden you became this magical person. No, they said it began eons of time ago, typically on other planets, that at some point in time you made a decision, I will go to planet Earth. I will help bring in new paradigm. And those, I don't know how they talk in those days, but those who have said that said it's not going to be an easy journey. You're going to get beat up. And how you hold that in your reality could be very damaging to you. But you have to go through that, because what you're going to experience is going to challenge what you believe, what you feel, what you're experiencing.
Goodness, how does one say Band-Aids?
So there's the greatest of gratitude. The gratitude is, there's no words to describe what we've all at some level have said, we will do this, even if it means sacrifice, even if it means suffering, pain. We will be there. We will show up. We will make a difference in how the world presents itself. And we're not the only ones. Obviously, there's other groups also, but the time is here. And I believe they've also said, this is the most precious time to be alive. You will see things that no other humans have ever witnessed in recent times. Yes, long time ago, they did witness that, but nevertheless, what we can experience, what we can do with our energy as we move into our angelic presence and actually take ownership of the creatorship, that aspect of God that creates. When we move into that, you'll see magic, you'll see miracle healings, you'll see ribs get healed in a day or two. It's just kind of all headed in that direction. So if we decide to jump in that river, it's going to become a magical experience. But is it easy? No. We were told when we started, it's not going to be easy. It's going to hurt at times. So be prepared. But by the time these changes come, there's going to be so many that are in search of hope, so many that are in search of inspiration, so many people that have fallen into depression that they need someone to go to, someone to reassure them. This is all by intention. There's such a magical world waiting for you right out there. And so here we are, and we're all gathered together, and we have each other. And so if things look challenging to us, we have each other to fall back on. And in the last two sessions, one with Pauline's and one with the gentleman that has leukemia that I just worked on, Yeshua presented himself, Jesus, obviously, and he said, I just want you to know that I'm there. I want you to know that if your load gets too heavy, I will carry it for you. And sorry. We have help. We have each other. We will get through this. We will be the ones that provide the stability for a new world to present itself. So I'll let her talk while I collect my emotions.
They won't be able to hear you if you don't get closer.
Get up.
They go get the kid.
Hi, you guys. I was just thinking of one story on one trip with Laurie. We were coming out of the lava tubes, I think, on the Big Island, and anyway, the lady I was with was started to cry and tears were coming down her face. And I said, well, what's wrong? Well, she was very sensitive and clairvoyant. And I think it was Diane. Anyway, she said they're bowing down to us. She said that the Palladians, she thought it was Palladians, were lining the walkways and they were bowing down to us because they were so grateful that we had come to Earth to do this work. They were so grateful. It was just very impressive. And she said, let's pretend after you leave this body, you're going up around and you're talking to another angelic or another being. And they said, well, what experiences have you had? And you'll say, well, I was on Earth. And they said, oh, you did. It's like we're going to be wearing this huge badge that I did Earth. So it was very encouraging anyway, that story. It stayed with me for several years just to think, this is not easy. And we're doing it, we're doing it. And they're grateful. So, that it helps give us, okay. You got more than a t-shirt, you have a bodysuit. Yeah. Components for your meditation.
Yeah, we could definitely field some questions.
Anybody out there?
Hey, Rakie, I have a question.
Okay.
So, I was telling your story about reversing people's bleeding to one of my friends, and she matter-of-factly said, "Oh, he's just." I think she said something like he stepped back in time for a few minutes to allow that to happen. Is that what you're experiencing, or do you find that's to be the case?
Everything that I've talked about so far, I don't believe that is a factor, but I've had multiple experiences where that was a major factor. Quick example, driving to California from Colorado, going down the highway over Blue Mesa Lake. There's a semi truck in front of me and we're coming up to a bridge and I have perfect visibility beyond the bridge. I said, I can get around the truck. I might be a little close to the bridge, but there's nobody coming. Excuse me. So I head out and start to pass the semi. I ride alongside the semi and I didn't know, but at the very end of this bridge, there was a little dirt road that came down and a car that I couldn't see at the time came down that road and turned. Now the car is heading 55 or 60 miles an hour in my lane. I have nowhere to go. I actually heard, because I was in his lane, because I couldn't see it at the time. I actually heard the crash. And I knew at that point that everybody was going to probably die because I was going like 70 even because I was passing the trucks. I was under full acceleration. The next thing I know, after I heard this horrific noise, is the car is behind me and I'm in front of the car and there is no accident. And I'm going, oh my God, that's physically impossible. The bridge is narrow, the truck's here, we're here. Alongside the truck, there was no way for anybody to go any direction except head-on crash. So I'm going to shorten the story. When we got back in channeling, Linda asked, how did that possibly happen? What kind of miracle was that? And I'm going to let her tell you what they told her at this time because it has everything to do with time.
Yeah, they said that if you lose, if
A little
you,
bit louder for that.
the reason we asked is because we had just lost Kylie, a dog, and Ricky went into this emotional place where actually time is cut. And then that was preparation for when my husband at the time named Frank would be lost on a mountainside. And I I just knew that this was all preparation for what we were enduring. And he was gone several hours. But we had to cut time, and we knew specifically what we wanted to accomplish. And it would take high emotion, in order to be able to cut time. We were channeling Yeshua a lot in those years, and he said, we asked him, is this what caused your miracles, is the cutting of time? And he said, yes, but he didn't know it at the time. He just knew that sometimes he would have so much emotion and compassion for the person he was asked to heal that a miracle would happen. And so your question, Elizabeth, is very wise. That's probably what was going on when you see blood being drawn backwards. It's probably time in its reverse moment. And it just occurs to me that you've nailed it. It is a time.
Okay, I'd like to add a teeny bit to that. Part of this process stopped. I had a dog that I loved as dearly as I love this one, and he disappeared. He was gone for 3 days in snowstorms, and I knew he was lost and stuff. So when I went into what I do in channeling, they said, "Oh, we're so sorry, but he was killed by a mountain lion." And once again, I got in that defiant mode of, no, you're not gonna take one of the things I love the most in the world. You're not gonna take this away from me. And yet I was trying to adjust to the possibility, is this true? Is there nothing I can do? But now understand, he's a coyote mix with beautiful long hair, finely groomed most of the time. They take such good care of themselves. And it is snowing. It's ugly. It's muddy because it started, well, actually quit snowing. So everything is filled with mud. And I just said, I'm going to go find his body. I need physical proof of what I'm seeing. So I go outside and I have 2 other dogs with me, and they're right alongside me. And we're walking not more than 25 feet from the house. I hadn't even got started to where I was going. I look down, and here's my dog standing beside me, bone dry, not a single trace of any mud of being out in the environment. And what are you doing, Manny? What? No, he's crying because of Puddah. He doesn't want town. Okay. Anyway, that was a miracle of sorts. This dog just showed up. The other 2 dogs didn't even notice that he was there until they turned around and went, oh my God, there he is. He couldn't have been lost. He would have been covered in mud, sleet, and snow and things. And yet, with that much emotional energy, all right, you can get down, but you can't visit. But another example, on the accident that I was talking about, we questioned, how did this happen? How did I get in front of this car? And they said, we actually collapsed the timeline for about 5 seconds. During that 5 seconds, that car went here, you went there. In other words, there was no collision. They just changed positions within that short amount of time. What is the aftermath of some of that type of event, and what Linda just explained, that we had lost her ex-husband on the side of the mountain, is nothing seems quite real. I went for hours and hours trying to adjust myself to the reality that I'm, one, not dead, but secondly, how did this happen? This is impossible. I should have died on a head-on collision. So once again, the dog reinforced that system. And now we have her ex-husband lost in a brutal storm about 12,000 feet up on the Sangres. I'm not going to get into the story. It doesn't really have any relevance. But the rescue party came up. I called them. It's amazing. Here you're all the way up in the storm in the middle of nowhere, and your cell phone still works. So I sent down messages to down below. I said, Frank, his name was Frank. I said, Frank is lost. We can't find him. It's dark. The wind is blowing about 50 miles an hour. It's never stopped raining. And the rescue team is here. There's about a half a dozen of them. and we've been going out back and forth. Well, during that time, because I know Frank and he's also a friend, and I could feel his heart. I go, he's still with us. He's still with us. But the temperature now has dropped down into the high 30s with the wind. The chill factor has got to be like 15 degrees or so. And I'm getting pretty concerned. So we called down, she made the call to all of our friends. It would like it be if you were in Colorado and this was happening. And I called down and I said, Deborah, can you focus on Frank? Can you focus on warming his heart and his chest cavity? Well, of course I can do that. And then I would ask Hugh when he was awake, Hugh, can you do that? Of course I can do that. Shaman Leah. So what we did is we got a whole group of people to literally put heat and energy into his chest, even though we didn't know where he was. We knew that they had what the leader of the rescue party, he called me over and he said, did your friend have any kind of gear on? No, he didn't hardly have a jacket on. He's had been on the stubborn side. And so he said he has no chance of survival in here, but we'll go out in the morning and find the body. And Edmund wasn't exactly what I wanted to hear. So I'll let her tell you about the little ceremony that we did at daybreak.
So it was my son's 25th birthday. And we had called him up in the morning because I don't know, you get cell service there, but to wish him happy birthday. And I was like, this is not going to happen. We're not going to call up Troy and tell him we just lost his dad. So if you talk to Frank, he could feel the whole night was orchestrated. He fell down. He couldn't get up. He had broken his knee. Rakie could feel the first thing he had to do was heal Frank's knee. And then Frank would pick up his lighters, and though he wouldn't work, he'd pick up his walkie-talkie. We weren't going to let him out of our sight because he's this way, and except that he had a walkie-talkie. Well, that didn't work. So Frank is going, I just bought $1 million life certificate for Linda, and I bet those insurance companies won't even do it. They won't even let her know. So he's all knowing this is just orchestrated. I'm supposed to die here or something. And so at 1:35, because I could read what Rakie was feeling, he wasn't going to let me know that he stopped feeling the heartbeat at 35.
About 1:35, I could do the exact amount because I could feel it. I could feel it in my chest. And all of a sudden, boom, 0.
So,
Two flashlights, both quit. So it was over. Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
so
that was important.
as we put the night back together, I could tell when Rakie's energy shifted, because he was just as white as having experienced so many deaths from his loved ones. He was just grueling, and people were tromping all over the place. And we had all of our friends were up on the mountain, and I'm in so much knowledge that this is being preparation for what we will have to endure during these coming years, but months maybe, that I could tell that what we needed to do was generate a ceremony, because what they told us after Kylie, the dog, had passed over and Rakie brought that back, was that we are actually the karma lords and the time lords. We haven't woken up to it yet, but we can manage time. So I was filled with knowing that this was all on purpose, and that I would need to generate the emotion, which was easy because it was Troy's birthday, and I didn't want to tell him, we're doing this. So I said, let's get 3 people as soon as all of those what do you call it?
The rescue team to look for his body. So they were back out looking for his body.
They knocked at my door and said, have you got his jacket, so that we could, sniff out the body? And I'm sound asleep. And I knew it was going to work out. So we had 3 people, had the emotional ceremony, called them back in, went back to the cars, and then at 9 o'clock in the morning, they knocked on my door and said, we found him, he's fine. They put him in the newspaper. They were all elated. They couldn't even believe it.
He's 67 years old. He literally came walking down the trail, not even wet, not even like he'd been in a brutal storm hours ago. Just, huh?
so weird.
He lost his memory, part of it from what I remember, for about 2 weeks, which happened identically. I didn't really get over the head-on collision thing. It was about 2 weeks before I felt any level of normal. Well, Frank was like in a daze. He would just walk around and no focus, no anything. But once again, the timing, the emotions, the knowledge that yes, we can make a difference if we put our hearts into it and do it strong enough. Yes, we can make a difference. Before we run out of time, I'd like to share with you what's gone on in the Light Talk world. Several months back, during channeling session, this voice came through that I never heard before, and it was speaking in a language that I never heard before. And I'm wondering, the only part of my mind that was a little bit conscious is wondering, what's this all about? And I didn't recognize anything they were saying. I could kind of feel the emotional energy, but I didn't recognize anything. And channeling said, this is the voice that needs to talk to you. And by the way, they will translate anything they say to you in the language that you don't understand. And so I said, wonderful. So we did a couple sessions with people, and all of a sudden they just feel like talking, and they just started pushing stuff out, and then they would stop and translate what was said. Hugh and Deborah went through the process, I think, last night, and Pauline tonight. And Laurie went through it over the phone. Floyd went through it over the phone. Floyd, by the way, I did check in last night, and they do want to talk to you a little more. So let's put that on the schedule, possibly for when we get back in Colorado. Right now, our schedule is just beyond hectic. So I'd like to share just a teeny bit so you kind of get a feel for this. I've never done this in public, so this is like the first. Yes.
Okay, it's the first time.
First thing.
For you all.
Okay, I'm sorry, I need to go away just a little bit. Organic motion going to change what? Don't Jimmy go over to some of the water pumping it on. I'm going to change me. I'm going to get water. I'm going to water is change what I change one. They said they want you to know how honored they are, how deeply they're touched when they see groups such as yours gathered in common purpose and common heart. It doesn't matter if you're all in the same room. It doesn't matter if you're all in the same country. The heart will find each other. The heart will communicate with each other. But they want to offer gratitude, the gratitude for all that you've been through, all you've experienced, to bring you to this point in time, and to let you know that any heavy trauma or drama that you've experienced, it's time to let go, to move into the new earth, the new reality, the new paradigm, a place where all are supported, all are loved, all are fed, all are given water, all are given shelter. This is coming, but we just want you to know how much you are loved, how much you are appreciated, that every effort, every corner that you've turned, every challenge that you faced, all has value. In the new world, the changing world, you'll know and understand without a shadow of a doubt why you have been here. Walking into Walker's Twinchi, I mean, what is this? How am I going to get how am I with the greatest of latitude the greatest of gratitude, the greatest of love, the greatest of appreciation. They want you to know that we are all one in the heart, one in our expression, and they will be with us through the coming times of change. And so it is until we meet again. Amen. Hey, I'm back.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
We have a surprise. for Rakie and Linda. So I'm gonna have them open it on camera so you guys can share.
Yay! Surprises are great.
This is a major surprise. Wow, this is what I've always wanted. Oh, it's not the present. Uh-oh. OMG.
I put it in your lap because you're on view. It looks like it has a pyramid top. I wonder.
How did you get the paper to fold like this? Oh my God.
Those just organized in the entire universe. Look at this. Can you see it? Who made it? Oh,
We're gonna put our energy into that tonight, so we'll take it with you to Sedona.
very sensitive.
For sure. They nailed it. If I could make my own, I would make it exactly like this. I'm starting a little overwhelmed, but no. What? Sorry, I'm not quite back.
Back,
You wanna hold it?
just so the people here can see it. There. Thank you, Mom. Love you.
Thank you. Thank all of you. I haven't said it enough times. I want you to know how much you are loved. Each and every one of you that I've shared part of my life with. I will never forget you. I'll never stop loving you. For everyone in this room that I do know
And this
and have spent time with.
is
Once again, I will never stop loving you. It's an eternal thing. And we will all meet at some point in time when heaven on earth is a reality. It's destined.
The gallery, so you can see their faces.
Oh, wow. So lost.
Shirley, Elizabeth, Peter, Lloyd, Reed.
Hey, Reed. Hi, Lord.
Where's Reed?
Where's Redbird?
There's Reed.
Huh? I don't see anybody there.
I don't see anybody in Redbird's body there.
Um,
It would be really nice if you can lose the virtual background so we can see everybody in the room.
Live music, so we're gonna turn the camera on to Dick, and he's gonna blast us.
Can you turn the
Gonna
virtual
blast us, so
can you turn the virtual background off, please?
I don't know how.
Go under stop video in the lower left hand of your screen.
Okay, the lower left hand says secured participants,
And
chat,
it's
and share screen.
virtual background, then you just turn it off there.
I don't know how to do it.
Choose virtual background, then turn it off. You'll have a setting.
Yeah, but I'd have to find it. Where is it? What category is it in?
Under stop video on the left hand bottom corner of your screen, you see a stop video.
Yeah,
And then there's a little up arrow. Click that up arrow. And it says choose virtual background.
okay.
And you click that and you'll be able to turn it off.
I'm gonna try that.
Thank you, Laurie.
Oh, yeah, thanks for showing me how to do it. Okay. Yeah, let me turn around so they can see you. Okay.
There we
There's Dick
go.
This is, hi, hey, everybody. This is Dick Weaver. And he's gonna bless us with his music.
Hi, everyone. Yeah. This is called Catch the Wind. About a tree, a road, and now to go. When I am here. I am here. I am here. Yeah. In your head, and Lord, all the things always here. Before all you said, you must be when you speak. I can all the things I can make. Make God give you out of your
Uh, okay. Place of gathering, okay. This is called a place of gathering, and I wrote this song because when we all get together like this, it doesn't matter where we do it. Sometimes the spot helps, but no matter where we are, when we gather with this higher ideal, higher purpose, higher thinking stream, I don't know what else to call it. It makes a high holy place. Well, beyond join hearts now, spirits we are one. Here in this high holy place, come together now, celebrate all the we share our great present our prayer. When we join heart and there are two or more, the prayers all go straight to God's heart. The northeast smile, the each one, because you and I come, God, and love, and the always the we are in the land. We lift up our voices, that takes us straight, place where we are. A holy this place we gather. Now we are stepping aside. Everything, everywhere, in the always the way we God that is our we send out our joy on the wings of the blessed. Everyone here and far, our prayer is right. We all experience heaven's joy. All we come, God is all. Everything, everywhere, and they always be. We are back I was singing that song. I heard it really is. It's like it's in me. It's such a favorite song. Yeah. Every year. That's it. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay. You want me to do another one? Okay. Well, okay, this is, it's called. It's, yeah. Well, this is kind of a meditative. Meditation. Anyway, you can all sing along if you'd like, because you can learn it. I think. But anyway, it's called I Am One, I Am I. Yeah. Well, thanks to the energy this session.
Behind some of my healing work and stuff that was so inspiring. My heart breaks. Thank you so much. I agree.
That touches me. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to make this into some good music, you know. And so far I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. But we're getting there.
Just for the people who get to record the world is
Thank you.
I would suggest people to do that here tomorrow. Especially one of the things.
Okay. Sure.
Because that's what we're all here, and those of us on this side. We're not here focused, like Nancy and Patty, I'm Sarah just came in, and we are here on purpose, all our sake, and to join a letter.
The sky's so blue on this beautiful morning. Let's walk in sunshine or dance to it. Skip down the path of our lifetime together. This lovely world is to feel it. We wind down by the water tonight. Beautiful days, fill our hearts to the brim. We feel the presence of love. With God beside us, our hearts love again. It's a dream that comes true in my life as I am here. A ring about in this beautiful dream. Your creators before life began. With our greater we stop a moment to soak in bliss. It's scenery earth was made on this day. We could create such infinite beauty. We'll tell them brother of the kindness. Life it is given for us to partake in. It's why we wear these rays white with cheer. I jump for joy when I take time to go. Depth of beauty that love is sincere. The dream that comes true in my life as I live it. Look out into the dream that we are created, we are together. With our great help, it's beautiful. The sky's so blue on this beautiful dawn. Let's walk in sunshine with dance around. Skip down the path of the together. This lovely world is to be. The dream that comes true in my life that I take. Every time in this beautiful dream that we are created, we walk together. Our greater is a beautiful dream. Dream that comes true in my life that I live. Moving about in this beautiful dream. We are created, we walk like together. Our greater is a beautiful dream. It's our greater the sky's so blue and it's beautiful. Yeah.
I have a comment. This is clearly why you're saying that, and that was 60 or 70 years after Bob Dylan did his great work. The Nobel Committee recognized his poetry. That's what happened here.
Yeah.
The poetry is worthy of the
Thanks. Thank you. That's really kind.
That's true. It's double, but you know, it's true. We have a beautiful guy.
Thank
And
you.
you think you put to music, this words alone are.
Well, there's one more I'd like to do for us.
People ask me, why do you so different when you're keep singing this music? And they said, why is that? And I have to open up and say, okay, she'll teach me, myself. it comes up and out of my heart, out of my mouth, and then my mind gets to get trained. And I said, well, he's seeing what we already know inside. What we're already dancing as inside.
That's where this comes from. So this is called what pleases me. And this is what I heard God say to me. Okay. So this isn't this dick talking. This is a little bit higher someone. So you often ask what pleases me, what you most should do. What I thought if you're not, I can you? The thing that always pleases me is when I see you, just you. Your heart is and you with nothing else to do. I see it burn in your mind by intuition. I tell you now, you're here with me. And I know it's not. Yeah. To honor who you think I am, you feel to put on a death, hide your core, the name of Christ. I see just you, who you are, my embracing arms that get you with rest. You're my child, and so please leave here and rest. And she's all but I've always been so filled with joy. This begins so live from your heart, that's your hold me, I trust you, and will care to hear the song. You know,
He said,
yeah,
you have to talk about
yeah,
this.
yeah,
And God said,
yeah, yeah.
"There's not another way." That's not it. The first time you played it at a complex in our parents, it was a little boring and like when I was talking English, he was from El Salvador. This one is that. And he knew me, he's very shy. He was sitting on my lap and he was uncharacteristically and started playing guitar against biggest thing this song for the first time. And there was a little voice kind of doing on my lap and just like, and then all of a sudden in English, when he comes to the sentence, my light, you are my light. Not
everybody sings, my life. This soul knows. You like this. I like this. So I'll kind of like feeling the rip. It's a little bit because he's just his and his language. And he just knows his soul.
You are. I have to say this. Yeah. Okay, you have to get recorded. There's one reason why. When you see singers recorded and singing, there's a microphone. That's it. Not if you. No. If you were to be recorded, when you are, there's not just one microphone. There's one microphone here. But there's one up here. It's one down there. There's one around all over. All of the mics that you can do up. And then the final mix, it's all mixed together. So we all can hear you. Everyone can hear you from every angle that we're all hearing you from. All the ears are not here. So it's three, four dimensions. That is why. And when you are recording, that's what you get to do. It's transcendent into the, it's transcendent. Those people, they were already. Well, I do have some of those songs on a CD, but it's just me and the guitar. That a friend of mine sat in our living room one night and I recorded 12 songs. And most of them are on. Pardon? I said I would love to take some of that music back down. This has this one thing. Yeah, close my eyes. It's almost like I can have. I do a couple of them. Yeah. But do you want to do a Christmas carol since it's Christmas?
Yeah, you look at people okay. I was on Mission Grounds and it's in the way with a Native American grandmother. Remember the Nikki Shawate? Grandpa was white. And she was clear through the foundation of officers. I was there, so the photos were there, and I watched hundreds of golden lights. Never before made so flies up and out of that earth and go into the sunset. And then the clearings that you're doing in Sedona. There's a song he was guided to write by visiting the campfires of the elders of the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois. And it's a very real song. And I would honor, if you want to, I would honor what's coming in Sedona with that song too. You have a small water wheel that you have to get television around the whole area. Medicine being on Mother's Day weekend in 2006 and Dixon. And they just lifted up and out. And there's a lot of people over it and stuff. Let's just say something. I didn't get it. So the one is sea country for anyone that has been for 7,000 years, and you won't be that long before the red rocks start probably to see the cities of light underneath them. It's when you drive in just Sedona, ask to feel the sphere because the Kava, partially to the work that we've done with her in the rest of it, is seated there in the sense of over that city. It's already selected to be part of the birth of the work. And under those rocks are glittering, shimmering cities. So if you go up to, you've done it with me, go up to Cathedral Rock, where the church is built into the, when you stand to the side, up at the top of that, where the parking lot is, we have to kind of U-turn. When you look up into the rocks, you can see windows will open, especially if you ask, and you see her sister who lives there. She lives in that particular rock and works in the city of Puddah. It's there at Cathedral Rock, yeah, one of her sisters. So I have to go there so she can wait for her sister. It's an amazing concept to think of. Already the rocks are going to start, the 3D is going to start falling away.
And so many like these come there. Last year, they were putting their jobs, we went to Botan Canyon at night, and we all moved up and got chairs and asked to see the light show. Saying, you know, he took this thing from a wall of flowers and he threw it over the mountain. And somebody, they caught it, and they tossed it back. Balls go back. Wow. That's going on. I mean, it's an amazing place to have incredibly little extraterrestrial contact.
Yeah. That's the most amazing medical place as far as a location I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I've been there for 20 years.
Just, you know, people say fast. The time that we were there with Canada, a few years ago, so when we met our attorneys there, and anyway, we had hostages, but there were no people wearing our robe. There was me and less than all of the people that anyway, and right, we closed our eyes, we see the little green guys wearing our robe. They were like,
It's amazing. So many experiences.
There's another good thing too. Some years back, when I was in here before I remember now, I was given a vision when I woke up in one life, I closed my eyes, saw this divine feminine that to the outline of what we now call Eastside City. And I saw the divine masculine as what we now call Camp Pendleton, but it was originally in Spanish called Rancho Santa Margarita de las Flores. So I was saying, Margarita. And so I called two of my friends. One worked with Alice Bailey, directed from Cool, and the other worked with Uganda. And I gave the call because I had no clue where I was being shown. And I asked each of them, and they both said very, very similar words. And they both said that Uganda said, and Jerome Cole has said that in Southern California, and I include Tapai, Mexico, I include the Baja area. Southern California is the birthplace of the sacred right here and all around the world. Nice is always part of this. We are part of the crystal cities of Bavaria and what was before there. Part of and I know we're one we have the most of in the world is the crystal city. And that's what I think the water just off there. This is such a sacred place. And we're all, and the whole earth is so sacred. Every speech, which finger in the hand isn't divine. All of us are divine, and we all hold a cup of life together. It's really a story. All of us, one of our areas, Preston, they're called all these places. You should go. Everybody needs your relatives. Everybody needs your relatives. Have you seen that labyrinth? You should go there.
There wasn't a labyrinth. Labyrinth, I don't think when I was there before. Has it been there for?
Retreat area. It's about 10 miles out. Angel Valley, you can look it up. Just nothing else to go there. The labyrinth is incredible. It's huge.
It's like a London circuit labyrinth.
Yeah, you walk it, and it takes, I mean, it's huge. It's like 10 times bigger than any of the colors.
Really?
Yeah, and it's incredible.
Okay, I need to make it. It's called Angel Rock.
Angel Valley. And the owners are lovely. You can say, we said hi, I said, Master, we said hi. We did a retreat there in 2000. 2001? Yeah, it's later. Were you for that? I was there for one of them. I think that was it. Grandma was there, boy. And Judith, and Grandma, from the trunk. We were there for 3 days. It was incredible. And we walked that labyrinth at midnight. We lit it all up with candles. It was appreciated when we did it. I'd like to go again. I think we should. Yeah, we gotta go over this. We did it back, but we'll go as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just in the river. You just swim in the river. You can float. You just float it down the asphalt. That's gonna go in the winter. You know what?
Yeah, I guess I should. I thought one day I'd write a song about the Haudenosaunee. You know, the Longhouse people, the Iroquois, we call the Iroquois. And they called themselves the Haudenosaunee. It means the Longhouse people or the people of the Longhouse. Because if you ever look at their lands, they were kind of right along the Finger Lakes up in upstate New York and over, you know, toward the East Coast and all that, but they were shoulder to shoulder. So they called themselves the Longhouse people. And the Seneca were on the west, the Mohawk were on the east. They were the protectors of the door. And in between there's the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Cayuga. Cayuga came later. Well, the Tuscarora came later. The Cayuga were part of the original five. So they were originally 5 nations, and then they became 6. And so I thought one day, well, I'll go in and just sit at their, campfires, because I'm sure they're having a good time, and just, join them and have a good time with them. So I went inwardly, and I went there, sitting around their council fires, I guess. And I really, truly expected to see them all having a good time, just feeling good. And they weren't. And they were feeling very glum and very down and contemplative almost. I mean, almost down. And I thought, well, this is odd. I really expected something different, but I didn't ask them any questions because I was kind of a visitor, So I just thought I would sit and just wait to see if I got any kind of input from them. And I did. And they told me they were not happy, are not happy with the way that they ended as a very powerful Confederacy nation. Because in their time, for hundreds of years, actually, they were the most powerful group up there. And so what they thought they would do is go to war and try to kill off all the possible resistance around them. And so they were on the warpath for years and years at a time. And they went all the way out to Lake Erie, all the way down into Tennessee, all the way to the East Coast. I mean, they really did conquer a huge area of land. And then the white man came. And the white man conquered them along with booths and such. And all they ever thought they were doing in all of this time of war was, yes, they were arrogant, no question about it, but they really were trying to secure the peace by trying to snuff out any possible areas of resistance in the future. And it backfired on them. It just didn't work because they were always at war. And until the white man came, and then they were at war with one side or the other of the white man. And then they got basically decimated. In fact, when they teamed up with the British in our Revolutionary War, and the British lost and the Americans won, the army wanted to wipe out every man, woman, and child, all 6 of the Iroquois tribes, all of them. And George Washington was the only one that stood in front of them and said no. He's the only reason they didn't totally get decimated. Totally. So to them, he's the only white man that's ever close to heaven. Only the Iroquois, only the Native Americans could get into heaven, according to them. But he is in a little hut right against the fence of heaven in that sense. And he's the only one there, excuse me. So yeah. Yeah. I read a book by a man named Henry Louis Morgan, who lived with them for about 10 years from, I think, 1841 to 1851, and intensely studied their culture, their history, everything. And he put it in a book about that thick, but it was really interesting. And that's what, when I finished reading that book, I thought, wow, I'll go and just check in and sit in on a good time with these guys. No, it wasn't that. So that's where this song comes out of, called Hodenu Sani. And I don't do it very often because it's a, well, you'll see. Beyond the reach of time, Beyond the reach of a promise, beyond the call of soul salvation, in restless sleep, lyrical nation. Cross the heart of the great 500 years before. Dagon will be to teach its conception and form the heart of the nation. Lord, the sun the onondaga the mo Cayuga Oneida later to school. Their land was spread shoulder to shoulder, so called themselves the Holy Muslim. Even though the Holy Muslim felt you the call of the bloody, their factions ruled with great compassion. People love the creation. Go to the sun, beyond the reach of the dark snow, beyond the reach of a promise, beyond the call of soul salvation, in restless sleep. Okay.
We really have the potential in your soul contract to be one of the greatest singers of our time. So bless the people with your music. We really want to do it. Support you. We'll all support you. It's there. It's written in the stars. It just needs to be grounded. It's really great stuff.
I didn't know I agree with our own. I never no one had no.
It's original. It's literally written in the stars. And you're not really in it. It's a huge number of people.
Well, that's fine with me. Because,
It's big. It's gonna grow.
yeah,
It's gonna grow. The smallest new form. We'll have to put it so. You always listen to just something that we've recorded before. You see, her majesty in her simple home, she's incredible equipment. She's been to backwards for you, she won't charge you, a bunch of anything, she might even trade with you, I don't know. I mean, she's an angel.
That sounds great to me. That's,
Tell me, every day, my CDs, because we all like, more, every day, they might get a lot of money, but it's money, and of course, I don't even do anything with them. I just put them out there just for like, peanuts for people that also spitting their work, right? I'm going to get them to record like not more because that's what the whales want. The information comes through, it's our job to get it out there, and I just reluctantly push him off the cliff. And watch him fly.
I'm good with that. Really, man. When you told me about her, that sounds, yeah, that's interesting.
I heard too much his music.
Yeah, that's something.
And she's got the ear, you know. It's just fun. Is it an acquaintance of Jonathan or Jonathan without seeing it? I want to live.
I want to live. I don't know that. I'm sorry.
You know, it's a nice song. I got a call. This is in Denver, and I was living in Denver. She's an Aspen, and she's inspired me to help the world's children because of the song I want to live. And so she calls me up and says, you know, bring some people out to our house, so I got to meet John Denver.
Oh, cool.
And this song, I want you to look it up on YouTube.
Okay.
All
All right.
You know the song that he's saying about this eagle.
Yeah. I, yeah, what's that called? Is that one? All the time in the universe. That one? That's a, yeah. All right. We'll play any song. You fill up my sense of night, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the day, like a storm in a day. I can be the you fill up my sense. Come fill me again. Come me Lord. Let me give my life to you. Let me drown in your laughter. Let me die in your arms. Always be with you. Come let me love you. Come love me again. Come let me love you. Come love me again. You love my answer. And the mountains in springtime, I can walk in the
In there. You fill up my senses. Come and fill me again.
Yeah. Really? Okay.
It's just a tiny place. Up until right on the border of Swamis, place, and then it's near this town. It's up by the ocean, where you see the ocean. It's beautiful. There's a place called John Denver Park.
No, that's cool.
I know Dennis, when we first were here in the nineties, I was seeing the beach news, that's the Post newspaper comes out with when they said that Dennis Weaver was in town again, and he was one who started a big, like a recycle home in Colorado. And he would come out during events and listen, had breakfast with somebody and they were recording something. But it turns out one of his brothers is a genealogy type person, and he found out that way back in Missouri, when the Weaver family went to Oklahoma or Missouri, Dennis Weaver went to stay in Missouri, and the other half went to where his family lived. So there is the souls connect, and all of us are connected. I mean, in the holographic oneness of quantum, we're all part of this. We're all the natives. We're all the pioneers over the universe. However, we've all been slaves and we've all perfectly, and we've all been mastering our culture. Experience is the experience. We are beyond the expressions. We are the quantum.
You're both great poets.
Oh, yeah. You did?
You
You did? You did?
You know, all these other voices coming in or with them.
Wow. That's cool. That's a gift from me too. You all want to sing "Oh Holy Night"?
Yes.
Good.
Send the Christmas card. Oh my God. Everybody hears it. Nobody's on anymore, so I have to stop here.